Hi, my darlings, and welcome to Confidence Leads to Success interviews with me, Elif Köse. Over the last 12 years of my entrepreneurial journey, I noticed that one of the greatest challenges of success is facing our own personal issues and making sure they don't prevent us from exercising leadership. And I truly believe that confidence has a huge impact on how we make that next move. I'm a strong believer that someone's journey to success can be your guide. So this is the biggest reason how my interview series started. I'd like you to come and join me to hear real stories of women across the globe who inspire me and empower me with their grit, perseverance, determination, and confidence. Sometimes all it takes to hear the voice of another woman's journey to inspire us to take the call, jump on the plane, write that book, start your brand, and whatever that is holding you back to create your dream life and own your independence. I have the honor to welcome an international award-winning author, Michelle Worthington, with me here today. One of the things I value in other women is when they're on a mission to help others find the gift within them rather than just enjoying their own success. And what Michelle does, that she waves her magic wand to coach aspiring authors and illustrators all over the world so they can achieve their dreams of publications. So I have got Michelle here. Hi, Michelle, welcome, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored.
It's so wonderful. I mean, I know a lot of our audience is now dying to hear your story, but my first question is, how did you get started?
Oh my goodness. It honestly feels like a million years ago, but like a lot of other mums, I started really writing for kids when I had kids of my own. And Jordan turns 21 next month, so I've been doing this a long time. But I guess, like a lot of mums as well, it was something that was just a hobby. And I had no idea what I was doing. And it took me 10 years to get my
Wow.
first book published because I didn't really tell anybody what I was doing. I didn't really have the confidence in it because I didn't know if it would work out. So, yeah, when it actually did come, it was a real shock that, well, hang on a second, maybe I can do this.
So, okay, so what I heard there now, they said you didn't tell anyone. So do you think that if you did ask someone's help, would it help? Would it get
Absolutely.
you, yeah?
Yeah. 100%, because I didn't tell anybody, nobody could help. And one of the things that I've learned, even though in this industry you feel like you're doing it by yourself, because obviously, you're the only author, you're writing the story. It's such a collaborative industry, and there are so many people who are willing to help. There's writers groups that you can join,
Yeah.
there's editors who can help you, and there's all this online information that if you are too scared to kind of take that step and voice it to the universe, none of that comes at you. So absolutely, if I had my time over, I wouldn't have been so scared about telling people what I was doing.
So what thing that you have in your head that wish you knew at the beginning? Would it be like to get help or find a coach?
Yeah, I think I wish I knew that it was okay to fail, that if you tried and it didn't work the first time, that was normal. I think when you're just starting out and you're like, oh, I'm not too sure about this, when you get that first no, you've got two roads that you can go down. The first road will be, oh, well, obviously I'm no good at it and I'm not meant to do it. Or the second road, which luckily I took, was, why was it a no? What do I need to do to get a yes? And it took me 10 years to get that yes, but I finally got it. So I think I wish I had known that that was actually quite normal.
Okay, that's so good. So good. So what was your biggest failure and what did you learn from it?
Oh, so many failures. It's like, oh, which one do I choose?
We
But
all
yeah,
have them.
I know. And I think that there's been a lot. And I think the biggest failure for me was not taking myself seriously and not educating myself enough and going into it without really giving it 110%. And when I decided, no, actually, this is what I really, really want to do, and I backed myself, then I found that I was failing faster. So I was failing, but I was getting over it quicker, and I was moving on to the next level a lot quicker. So I wish that I had kind of failed faster from the beginning, gone, yep, okay, that didn't work, what next?
That's so good. So good. So, what advice would you give someone wanting to pursue a career similar to yours?
I think the first thing that you need to do is be really clear on your purpose, because there's so many different pathways to becoming an author, especially these days when you can traditionally publish or you can independently publish. And it all really comes down to, what are you trying to achieve? For example, if you just want to write a story that you can give to your kids or grandkids, then obviously you're not going to want to go through the big process of trying to find an agent or going down traditional publishing pathway. That would be something that you could do yourself. But if you want to have this as a career, then absolutely educate yourself on the process of how you actually get published and the different steps that you take to become a cog, I guess, in that publishing machine.
Perfect. Really good. That's such a good tip. So would you say that, you were talking about that you wish you've allowed yourself to fail more because it would lead you to success faster. So would you say that it was because you didn't have the confidence in yourself to take that step, even though there was a possibility of failing? Would you say it kind of comes with the confidence?
Yeah, I think a lot of women who are in the creative industry do have a little bit of that imposter syndrome where they
Mm.
think, oh, I don't actually deserve to be successful, or, they're almost a little bit scared of actually having their biggest dreams come true, because that's actually going to change everything. So I guess it was a little bit of a combination of that. I knew that if I did it and it worked, then there was no more excuses. So if I could do this, I could do anything. And the thought of that actually scared me a little bit, because I think we hide behind all of the, oh, I can't do that because I don't have enough time, or, I don't have enough money, or, that's something that only successful people do, or this type of woman does that. And I think once you realize that all of those barriers are the ones that you put in your own way, and you take them off, that's actually quite scary, that there is now nothing holding you back.
I hear you say that you started writing your first book when you had children. This is why maybe it kind of gave you the inspiration to start it. But how did you do it? Because I know a lot of my followers and my audience um, are, are mothers and trying to make a living and pursue your passion around children can be hard. And I know it from firsthand myself, being a mother of a 3-year old. How did you how did you balance? How did you keep that balance to create that success for you?
Ah, looking back now, it's so strange, because I don't actually know how I managed to keep all of those balls in the air, but you just do. Like, if you want something bad enough, then you just make it happen. And when I started seriously thinking about, yeah, I want to write for kids, I actually went back and had a look at the types of stories that I wrote as a child, because I can remember not actually being very good at English at all until I was in grade 5 at school. So I just moved schools. And before that, I was actually told by some of my teachers that I might have to have, extra help because I was really failing a lot at school. And when I went to this new school, mum and dad were thinking, oh, we'll just see how it goes, but she might need a lot of extra help. And I had a grade 5 teacher she was just the most beautiful, insightful, empowering woman. And she could see at lunchtime, I really didn't have a lot of friends. I was kind of playing by myself, but I was making up almost like these plays in my head and making up all these stories and like acting them out. And like I was such a weird kid, like in the middle of the playground, here was me like pretending to be a fairy queen or,
Your
being
imagination is,
a
it
Totally
sounds like my son.
I know, but I wouldn't even care who was looking at me or who was watching because I was just lost in this world of my imagination. And I loved reading. And she said to me, why don't the words on the page match what's in your head? And I actually said to her, oh, in my old school, I was really, really bad at spelling. And I had a teacher who would use this red pen and just put red pen all the way through my work. And so now I only use words that I know how to spell. I've got all these big words in my head, but I don't know how to spell them. So I don't use those. And I change my whole sentence and only use the little words that I know how to spell. And I'm still a terrible speller. I'm still shocking at spelling.
Thank God for spell check apps.
I know, right? And she said to me, what is the worst thing that's going to happen if you spell a word wrong? What are you going to get expelled from school? Is the world going to cave in? And I said, no. She said, the worst thing that's going to happen is I'm going to tell you how to spell it correctly, and you're going to get a really great mark for English because you've tried. And
It gives me goosebumps.
she just gave me permission to not be perfect and just to try. And just, she could see that I had all of these stories stuck inside me. And it was just like this huge release. And I've got all these books, like all these little textbooks that I just poured all of these words out into these books. And so when I decided to start writing, I went back and I read through those and tried to figure out what was the kind of things that I was writing as a child. And I guess one of the things that I do now to help mums is I have an online class for them, because I found with the kids it was actually really hard for me to get to writers' workshops or do conferences and things like that. So that's, I think, why it took me so long as well, because I didn't have the opportunity to go to all of these events where you could learn how to do it properly. So one of the blessings for me of having this hard journey is now that I can use all of that information and all of the things that I did wrong and turn that around and hopefully give somebody else a smoother journey. And then when I do school visits, I always tell the story to the kids about me not being very good at writing. And you can just see some kids who put up their hand and go, that's what I do. And for me, like, oh my gosh, that's why I do what I do. If I can inspire one kid to not worry about being perfect and just get lost in the story, oh, that for me is heaven.
I love that. I love that you've told me your story. It really gave me goosebumps about your one teacher. It's so important how you critique someone's mistakes, because there
Yeah.
is a word critique or criticize, and what I hear that your first teacher criticized you, which took your confidence away, even though you were this imaginative, incredibly creative child who become the woman you have now. And thank God that you met the other 5th grade teacher who has given you the confidence to say you don't have to be perfect, because there's no such thing. And that has given you the power that you already had within you to unleash it. And now not only you become an international award-winning author, but you're also helping others to find that. It's so important. The power of words coming out of your mouth or written down is so impactful. And I always tell all my friends, my clients, my own son, just to use the positive ones, because what a big difference it would make if your first teacher had told you that
Mm.
instead of and making you feel less worthy. It's so important, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. And words have power. And that's one of the things that I tell kids when we go and do the school visits, and we talk about, words and poetry, and how it back in the olden days, the way that people would cast spells was that they would use words and incantations, and those words had so much power that people used to be scared of words. And I think we've lost that a little bit, but not that I want people to be scared of words, but I want people to know that words have consequences, and you can affect somebody else by what you say, both good and bad.
So good. So good. I am so loving this conversation because I mean, it applies to everything in our life. I've noticed that a lot of women I meet, like I dress women, I've been dressing women last 12 years, and and no matter where they are in their career, and these are all executives, and they're all these women with they're CEOs, and they're high end, but when they come here, I can see they've lost their confidence because one person made a terrible comment of their legs or their arms or their neck. And I find that so unfair and so, what's the word I'm looking? See, I don't want to say the wrong word.
No.
I just find it really harsh.
Mm.
Why would you make someone feel not good enough, not
Inferior.
worthy enough, not deserving, that knowingly it's going to affect them rest of their lives? I mean, I was talking to one of my friends, she's also in fashion business, and one of her clients has never ever worn trousers because somebody's told her that she had a big bum, and that stuck with her all her life, and she never wore a pair of trousers till she was in her 50s, even though she wanted to.
It's
It's just,
crazy.
what, who cares? Who cares? We put too much meaning on things, that kind of thing, rather than looking into the reason behind it and how you make people feel. It's so good. I'm so pleased you touched base on that. It's so good. Okay, I'm going to ask one thing. I have been inspired by so many women, and so many women inspire me and influence me with what I do, what I'm doing, and what I want to do in my life. So is there any people that who has been most influential to you for your work? Is there anyone?
Oh, I think it's funny, but it's almost the incidental people. It could be, the kid who reads your story and then smiles, or it could be, the the teacher who comes up and goes, you know what, I read your book to my class, and it's the first time they sat still all day. Or, the parent that comes up and says, I had to read your book 5 times last night, and she would not go to sleep until I read it over and over and over again. Like, it's fun. Just like there's stories everywhere, I think there's inspiration everywhere, and we overlook it too much. I think the big inspiration is great, but it's not sustainable. You need to find those little bits of magic in everyday life to let you know that you're on the right track, because that's the sort of inspiration that will take you just one step further. And really, in any sort of industry at the moment, it's one foot in front of the other. It's one step at a time. So the little day-to-day inspiration has probably been what's got me through even the most toughest time.
Amazing. That was going to be my question about what are the best resources that helps you along the way and had
Yeah.
helped you. It's
I think, yeah, finding your tribe as well. So, I mean, I have friends who I don't even talk to about what I do because they really have no idea what I do. My family have no idea what I do. Like my husband tells people I write fairy tales. And I'm like, well, I don't actually write fairy tales. And my kids go, what does your mum do? Oh, like she dresses up and like tells stories, and she'll sit at a computer and write things. Like they have no idea. I can be like in New York speaking on stage, and I'll FaceTime, and they're like, Mum, there's no food left. Like Dad hasn't gone to the shop, and we've got no sippy yogurts. And like they don't care what I do. So I think it's nice to find people that are on your level that you can talk to, and have somebody who's almost like a sounding board that you really, really trust, so that you can speak to somebody where you don't have to hold back, and you don't have to like feel like you have to dumb yourself down or not say exactly what's on your mind. Like if you've got this really exciting thing and you think you're going to be really awesome at it, you need to have that person who you can talk to without feeling like, oh, they're gonna think I'm, big noting myself because I think I can do this a really good job, but I just need to sound that off somebody. So finding those people that you can trust to get that really honest feedback, but who also are in the same sort of industry that you are, so that they're making informed choices when they're giving you that feedback, is really important. And it can take a little bit of time to find them. Like when you're first starting out, you feel like a little bit too self-conscious to reach out, but that's how you go next level, by surrounding yourself with people who are doing what you want to be doing. That's the best way to move yourself forward.
So good. I love that because a lot of the women I talk to would complain about similar stories like my husband doesn't see my vision, my children have no idea what I do, my parents, I mean, I have been through it myself. I I mean, I'm from Turkey originally and I came to the UK 14 years ago. It's going to be 14 years in June, coming June. Um, and my family had no idea what my vision was for my life. And I spent all my life trying to explain myself to you rather than focus on my vision. And and I think it is you really spot on that having people around you who see your vision or who support your vision and who understand, and having a right coach that it can be your accountability partner who you can use as a sounding board to talk through your ideas. And because sometimes you start these ideas like they're all over the place and you just need somebody who know exactly what you're doing because they have been all over the place well before you, to kind of bring you down to say yes, all of those things that you can see can be done, but why, how about we do it step by step? This is why finding that right coach and finding that right person to consult you on your journey will always take you to the next step. And I love that you said that is so important. And don't worry about people around you supporting you. I think a lot of people lose their confidence because their mom and dad, their husband, their wife, their children don't see their vision and they don't support them, and there they are trying to push, like, convince them the idea is good rather
Yeah.
than actually doing the idea and ignoring them.
Yeah. And I think that's the danger. Like when I have new aspiring authors that I talk to, and I say, well, why are you doing this? What do you want to get out of it? And if they say to me, oh, I'm doing it for my kids. And I'm like, well, that's not going to be enough. And I'm very honest with them about that. This can't be something that you're going to do for your kids, because your kids might be little now, but by the time you get your book published, maybe they're going to be 13 or 14. So, so you can't do it for your kids. So, okay, if you're not doing it for the kids, who are you doing it for? Oh, I want to support my husband. No, that's not going to work either, because at the end of the day, he will have no idea what you're doing. And even if he does know what you're doing, do you really want him to be an inclusive partner in this? Or is this your dream? is this something that you want to do for you? Do you want this to be your thing? And once we really nut down to the why and they get the why really clear, it's almost like this huge weight gets taken off their shoulders, because they only have to prove something to themselves. Like, the kids are still going to be there, the husband's still going to be there, the parents still going to be there, whether they support them or not. The only person who's putting those barriers in their way is them, because they're adding extra judgment calls that really don't need to be there. So yeah, you have to do it for you.
I love it. I love it. I mean, I've spent so much time trying to convince and kind of, I think it also, because we're our closest ones are the ones we expect acknowledgement and approval of. And when we don't get that, it almost takes our sparkle away. And to get to a point that you don't allow them to to change any of your passion or ambition about doing something, because when you do it for you, because everything, you are the only one, everybody exists because you do, isn't it right? So it's just so
Absolutely.
important. It's so good.
Yeah.
I love this. I'm really okay. I'm gonna ask you one thing.
Okay.
So because I want you to give the speaker, the listeners, the audience, what you have in you that they need to hear about you. So if you were in my shoes now, what I forgot to ask you, what would you ask to yourself?
Ah, I would ask me, what are my top 3 tips for getting published?
Great. Okay.
So answering
Great.
myself. My first one, definitely be to educate yourself. So go to authorsonline.com.au, and we have got some amazing resources there for both brand new authors and established authors. Educate yourself on the industry, but also educate yourself on exactly what you want to get out of this journey, because you've got to have a roadmap. Otherwise, it's like when in Alice in Wonderland, when she says, which way do I go? And the Cheshire Cat said, well, that depends on where you want to go. So it's very much about, you've got to know what your end goal is, so you can achieve the little steps to get there. So education, like, knowledge is power. Educate yourself about the industry, get onto some online courses, and actually figure out which pathway you want to go to. The second thing would be to find your tribe. So either in your local area or online. We have got the Authors Online Facebook group as well, and we've got the children's content creators as well on Facebook. So if you're either interested in either of those, just find your tribe, find people that you can talk to about this stuff, because it's going to make a huge difference. Once you see other people taking themselves seriously, then it almost gives you permission to do the same. And the third thing is to find somebody who is doing what you want to do. So find someone who's next level and reach out to them. Just send them an email. The worst thing that they're going to do is not reply. But find that person who's achieving what you want to achieve, reach out to them, introduce yourself, and just say, look, I am just getting started. What would be your suggestion to me, or what have you learnt that could perhaps help me along my journey? And it really is, taking yourself seriously and doing the work that you need. And I always find, once you do those little baby steps, then the universe just kind of rushes up behind you and goes, all right, you've made a decision, come on, let's go. And then all of this stuff starts happening. So just be ready.
It's very important. It's just like when you get into your car and you put something on your navigation, you put the
Yeah.
address, and then it takes you exactly where you want to go. If you don't, and you keep asking people and drive thinking it's that way, and then you stop and ask somebody and they go, I think it's that way, and then you go, and it's just like it takes you forever. But if you put it on the sat nav, you already know exactly where you're going because
Yeah.
it's So actually, it's as simple as that, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. You've got to know what your destination is before you start.
So where could our audience find you? Or authors, did you say?
Yes, anyone who wants to catch up with me, it's michelleworthington.com. And for aspiring authors, it's authorsonline.com.au.
Lovely. Yeah, we'll share that on the notes of the interview. It's so lovely. My last question, as this is about confidence leads to success, what does confidence means to you and how you could give that to our listeners, excuse me, so they can go and do what they love?
I think confidence for me is being my soft place to fall, that I know that I'm going to not be perfect all the time, but I know that I'm also not going to be hard on myself for that. And my confidence comes from knowing that I'm a work in progress and I don't have all the answers, but I know that I'm a strong, capable woman. I love my family. I'm immensely dedicated to all of my family and friends, and I'm a giver. And being who I am and knowing that I am capable of looking after myself and forgiving myself when things don't go right, for me, gives me the confidence to try things without worrying about whether they're going to work out or not.
So good. Thank you so much. This was brilliant. I'm sure all our listeners and audience is going to enjoy that. And so much tips, so much insightful, real story that I know so many women will be listening, no matter if they're in writing world and they're aspiring authors. It's just the story of a real woman in business who is who's doing following their passion and then all the obstacles that comes up and how you overcome them. It's so inspiring. Thank you so much, Michelle, for being with me today and sharing your precious time with us. I'm so grateful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.